Here's another question, Jim. Do we think that the media and public opinion sway how investigators look at evidence? Do we think it's too much coverage? I can start with this one, Jim. I have never, in any case I've worked, was ever swayed by anything that was in the media because most of the time the media has it wrong. They have no idea what's going on in my case. Only I know what's going on in my case. So a lot of times they can say things and think they know what's going on, but they don't. That's why Jim and I are so reserved. And a lot of times when we go on these media hits, they want to know, what are they thinking? What's going through their mind? What's this? And you know what? It's very hard to distinguish that unless you're right there, unless you're the man or the woman in the arena. It's very hard to distinguish exactly what they're going through. Jim?
Yeah, and I use that example. I think I even did last week, but in the DC sniper case, I am God as opposed to call me God. The actual tarot card was call me God. A source released to the media, someone in that task force, I am God, which has a whole different connotation to it, as I mentioned before. So that could just be one example. So every time I look at a case, when I was a young sergeant on the Ben Salem Police Department, um, I would get a call every morning. I think it was an afternoon newspaper then. Well, it was the Bucks County Courier Times. And I would read to them the crimes that happened the night before, and it would come out in the newspaper that afternoon, or eventually went to be a morning paper. And invariably they'd have half the facts wrong. And I'm telling them exactly, so-and-so was arrested for DUI, so-and-so, this 5900 block of Fifth Street, a house was broken into, and they'll get so many facts wrong. And I mean, there are good journalists out there, don't get me wrong. But even when you're giving direct information, I'd read the paper the next day. That's not what I told this guy. So there are some lazy journalists. There are some lazy people who want to be sources in law enforcement, which I never was, you never were. And Jim Clementi agreed last week he never was either. I don't like sources, and I would probably, I would definitely call them out, if not clean their clocks, if it was a case I was working on and in charge of, and they were giving out information to some reporter somewhere. And I've had reporters try to get information out of me.
Oh,
I
yeah.
just never succeeded. So, yeah, I've never been influenced by by the media. You have to keep, you don't want tunnel vision or horse blinders in the case itself. But when it comes to the media, you just have to look straight ahead at your evidence, at the case file, all the information you have in there, and not be overwhelmed by it. And Ray, I'll just leave this part at this. I mean, you retired a little bit after me, but there's been nothing like it is right now in the media for investigators nowadays. The internet was still around when was around already when I retired, but there were no podcasts and these 24/7 some true crime channels, whatever, and they have to fill time up somehow. And believe me, folks, you can think whatever you want of me and Ray, and we had Jim Clementi on last week. We walk the walk and we can talk the talk. Not every alleged expert you see on TV knows what they're talking about at the same time. So just keep that in mind. Take everything in stride. Listen to a few different people they put on TV. Realize they're working from outside the case. Even sometimes if they claim they have sources, just like even non-criminal cases, political type things, they have 3 separate sources that said, President so-and-so did this. Okay, name your sources and we'll take it from there. But they never do name their sources. So just be careful with that kind of information. And any investigator who's listened to me knows you don't get swayed by stuff you read in the media. You stick to the facts just as it is.